This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
And welcome to the third episode of Sundays with Dominic and Vito. Dom Churko is along for the ride as my co-host as usual. Dom, how are you doing?
Doing well, Vito. How are you doing today?
I'm doing terrific. And, always glad to record with you, Dom, okay? It's always a pleasure of mine to be able to record on Saturdays, actually, with you before we have the podcast come out on Sundays. But Dom Churko is here to talk about a variety of topics. First one is the Major League Baseball postseason and the NLDS Game 5 between the Dodgers and the Nationals. The Nationals win via a grand slam hit by Howie Kendrick, the first of the veteran's career, and it comes in extras against the Dodgers in Game 5 of the NLDS. Great timing for him to hit that grand slam. Now, moving on to events before that, specifically with left-hander Clayton Kershaw. Comes into the seventh inning, gets his one out, comes into the eighth, and expected to get two more outs. Anthony Rendon and then also Juan Soto, the 20-year-old phenom. Does not get either guy out and allows back-to-back bombs. Kills the Dodgers game momentum. Their lead is gone, and the Dodgers lose the game and lose the series subsequently. To the Dodgers manager, Dave Roberts now, and that decision, Dom. Let's talk about that specifically. What did you think of that decision? And I think I already know what you're going to say, but I'm going to allow you to have now this platform to talk about what you thought about Dave Roberts' decision.
Yeah, I thought it was, for him to go back out there, you could tell right away he didn't have enough zip when he threw his first fastball to Eaton. It clocked out like at 90.6 miles per hour or 89.6, and you could tell his fastball didn't have enough zip. His breaking pitches, when he first threw his breaking pitches, they weren't as crisp and as sharp. And really, the thing with Kershaw, especially comparing him to the regular season, has been to the postseason, has been poorly timed home runs, and where he's given up the long ball in the postseason more frequently, and his left on base percentage is higher. His left on base percentage is like 60% in the postseason, which league average is 72%. So it's much lower than what it is in the regular season, and a lot of that has to be do with the home runs that he's given up, and you could tell he didn't have the stuff coming in the eighth inning for some reason.
And then the Dodgers closer, Kenley Jansen, was available to pitch, was rested, good to go, and Roberts didn't utilize him in that situation. And you thought, Tom, you were telling me off the air after that game occurred, and Jansen wasn't used in that situation, that you think Dave Roberts missed a golden opportunity to use his closer to get Rendon and Soto out, correct?
Yeah, he had struggles last year, with, this year too, and last year he had the arrhythmia, and then other injuries as well. But if you look at his, fielding independent pitching, he was much better this year. In the time that he did, in the 63 innings he did pitch, he was pretty good. And he's one of those guys too that, the home run ball, you worry about it more frequently, in this part of his career. It's 1.63 last year, 1.29 home runs per nine. But the thing that separates Kenley Jansen from Kershaw, especially to a guy like Juan Soto who hits lefties really well, is that he could challenge him inside. He can challenge Rendon inside and work inside with a higher velocity. So I feel like to get through that meat of the order, and though Rendon and Soto are two of the best hitters on the planet this year, so pretty much a lot of what the national success is predicated off of, how good those guys are in that middle of the order.
But you still believe the Nats miss Bryce Harper. Dom, please tell my listeners and I what you have hit me over the head about regarding Harper.
Yeah,
why the Nats still miss him, even though they're in the second round in the NLCS now, as you know.
I mean, they're winning, so it's almost like it doesn't matter. But
it's irrelevant, but
they did improve regardless of whether they would have signed Harper. I mean, come on, they're better last year. If you look at their roster, they added, Patrick Corbin, Steven Strasburg was healthy this season. Max Scherzer was really good in the first half of this season. So they were finally healthy where they didn't have, the injuries. So I think if you look at it that way, the Nationals were going to improve this year to some extent. And they did improve. And I mean, their lineup is worse without Bryce Harper, no doubt. Anytime he had 114 RBIs, which is his career high. So if they did have him, and his defense was better than, the guy that in right field, Adam Eaton, who had a big hit today.
Big time hit in game number 2, baby.
Yeah.
And then LCS got to give Spanky some credit. Your former White Sox.
Yeah, so you got to give the lineup credit and what they're doing.
And he made a nice catch really quick, by the way, Eaton, too. So got to give him some love for game 2 in the NLCS, at least.
Yeah, and they're hitting in the clutch spots where Harper was used to doing that. He has great numbers in postseason clutch hitting statistics. But if you look at the difference between maybe this year and last year, is that their pitching is going deeper, into ball games where they're not using their bullpen. Tax that bullpen, especially that middle relief, is really bad for the Nationals. So guys are going deeper, they're more effective, where they only have to go 7 innings, and then you have maybe 2 pitchers at the most after that, Doolittle and Hudson. So the pitching's much better, and Corbin, I think, added a wrinkle into their success as well.
Adding Patrick Corbin was huge this offseason.
Yeah, that's regardless of what they did to their lineup.
Because you were making the point before, too. We recorded this podcast right now as we're talking to all of you guys, is that if they, signed Corbin like they did, they still could have, and they had the chance to sign Harper. It's just they didn't, right? That was your point, that really, they still, you thought, had the intent to sign Harper and made an offer to him. Anyways,
yeah, they could have easily signed Harper for, the extra, millions more, but extra millions, but for these owners, it's nothing.
Nothing. I mean, it's pennies, right?
Yeah, they could have done it and probably increased their chances to about, a 98% probability of going to the World Series and winning. The problem with the National League, though, is the offenses have been really bad.
Oh my God, it's been hard to watch, right? I mean, the Nats and Cardinals both now in this NLCS, man. It's not fun to watch offensively speaking.
The Cardinals, they've had this, they've struggled all year. And Goldschmidt he started to pick it up in the second half a little bit, but he was struggling in the first half. Carpenter's had a horrible year all year. Dexter Fowler looks washed up right now.
Matt Carpenter looks washed up right now, right? He washed up big time.
Marcell Ozuna, another guy where, he's a streaky hitter. Tommy Edman's probably been their most consistent hitter, but, no one expected too much out of Tommy Edman this year. So if you're getting that from, you're relying on Edman to get a hit for you, that's problematic. And another guy, Paul DeYoung, he was I believe their lone all-star, and he's been horrible in the second half, swinging at a lot of first pitches, popping fastballs, not squaring up fastballs. It's a shame because their pitching is probably, if you count the starters and the bullpen, better than Washington's total pitching. But the difference is, those clutch hits and the Nationals.
That's the difference in a series, right? In the playoffs. Tommy Edman got robbed in Game 1 by Ryan Zimmerman at first base. He looked like a third baseman again. I mean, that was the old Ryan Zimmerman in the flesh, Game 1 of the NLCS, as Anibal Sanchez was throwing his no-no. The funny thing is, Max Scherzer in Game 2 also went 5+ innings of throwing a no-hitter. Last time that occurred in Major League Baseball postseason history was in 2013 by the same two guys in the 2013 ALCS when Sanchez and Scherzer were members of the Detroit Tigers. How about that stat right there? That little factoid, which, hey, it's Major League Baseball history, and Sanchez and Scherzer once again in back-to-back games almost threw no-nos. And in game number 2, Adam Eaton, once again, your boy from White Sox days of years past, made that really good catch in right field to preserve the Scherzer no-no at one point on Saturday evening. So, I mean, huge stuff in Game 2 from Eaton, and now the Nats are up 2-0 in that series with the Cardinals and have a chance of winning the series and advancing to the Fall Classic. And really quick, too, another stat. This is the first time the Nats, the Washington franchise, right, this franchise that was the Expos at one point, has advanced past the first round since the year of 1981, long before you and I were even thought, Dom.
Yeah, that's a good thing to, obviously it's good for that, I guess for their fans and seeing some success after a lot of turmoil in the postseason. But, another thing, too, if you look at the Nationals, and maybe what separates them is that they've got guys at the top of the order that are better bat to ball, players that can make, better contact, harder hit contact percentages, like Trey Turner. Trey Turner is an elite speedster. Adam Eaton, if he gets on, he struggled in the postseason, but they also have a bench where, the bottom of the order, Michael A. Taylor, you can, slip in the bottom of the order, maybe is more effective than a Paul DeYoung right now. So I think those guys, and, if you include, the top and the bottom of the order, they have more catalysts right now that are in, better spots. And they have a bench where, you can, Kendrick's starting now, but Kendrick comes in and off the bench. You have other guys like Kurt Suzuki and Yan Gomes, who've had big hit. Yan Gomes had a big hit. That 8th spot, has been really good for the Nationals. So I think they're getting a lot of clutch hits, but I think that their ability to flip the batting order, and not strike out like the Cardinals are doing is pretty important, even though Wainwright did rack up a couple strikeouts today.
And went 8 solid before he gave up that big hit to Adam Eaton. Now, I think the big differences from the Nats a season ago have been the acquisition of Corbin, how well he's pitched. Also, Anthony Rendon having an MVP caliber season, kind of taking the place of Bryce Harper, right, in that lineup in terms of overall production. Also, Anibal Sanchez and what he's done really out of nowhere, having a career resurgence. He's their 4th best starting arm, and it's really resemblant of the 2013 Tigers and those really good Tiger staffs they had when they were making the playoffs and winning divisions year in, year out. And then also in the Nats bullpen, which is shaky at times, right? Especially you said in the middle innings and back end of games, really, but even maybe more in the middle innings, I believe is what you said earlier, Dom. And I think a difference for them in the pen this season has been Daniel Hudson. How about Hudson's presence at the back end of games, coming in Game 2 to close it out as well? So I think, Dom, those have been the big differences for the Nats from a season ago to this year, and why the Nats right now are up 2-0 in the NLCS against the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, I would have to actually say it's Juan Soto. I think he's really taken the biggest. He's taken a step at age 20.
He's younger than you and I. How crazy is that? He's already really, really good.
Legal drinking age. He's 30?
I bet he's never drank an ounce of alcohol yet, too. As you and I didn't before 21, too, obviously.
Right. 34 homers and 110 RBIs.
That's good, Dom, huh?
And the past 2 years, his on-base skills are unbelievable. 400 on-base percentage again for him. He has almost as many walks as he does strikeouts.
Crazy good.
It's really
Victor
good.
Martinez-esque.
Very, very good hitter. And he hits lefties and righties the same. I think his presence as a left-handed bat in that lineup, if they didn't have Juan Soto, this team would be not good. I mean, they would be, I shouldn't say not good. They probably would be, they wouldn't be where they are right now without Juan Soto.
So now we've rounded the bases with the NLCS. How about the ALCS really quick here now? Astros and Yankees, really good matchup on paper. 2 100-plus win teams, Dom. What happens in this ALCS?
Yeah, I think the Astros' contact is the bat to ball of their ability to not strike out, and the Yankees have a tendency to swing for the fences and strike out a little bit more. I think that could be the turning point in the series. I think they can outlast the Yankees pitching because they're going to put the ball in play. They're going to make the starters work. Severino. All their starters work, harder. I think Houston has the advantage as far as putting the ball in play in this series. So I would take, Houston. I think that's...
So I've got the Nats and Astros in my World Series matchup now. Honestly, I would have picked it before the postseason started. I kind of did off the air. I think I maybe said it on Tigers Talk, which you can check out weekly on Wednesdays via the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. On Twitter, at Detroit Podcast. I'm on Twitter as well, at Vito Jerome. Dominic Churko is Twitterless. Will you ever get back on Twitter? Anyways, don't even answer that right now because we're talking about the ALCS. You've got the Stros, I've got the Stros. In the World Series, I've got the Stros and Nats. Who do you have, Dom?
Well, I mean, it looks really...
I said Nats. I know it's kind of easy to do it now, right? You can.
I had
You had the Cards before,
I had the
right?
Cardinals before the playoffs started. I had the Cardinals Astros.
Right now, Cards still down 2-0. Do you believe in your Cards?
I mean, you can't... You got to stay true to your, first, prediction. I mean, if you're gonna ride a fence, then you go with the Nationals now. I mean, down 0-2, you'd think no, but they have a shot to turn it around because I think their lineup is capable, as they showed in the DS, that once they get going, they can be an avalanche, and their lineup is more conducive to bigger innings than the Nationals. So I feel like if they can get their offense just to figure out just a little bit, I think Strasburg and Corbin now.
That's gonna be tough, man, for the Cards.
That's gonna be
games
tough
3 and 4. That's
Right.
tough right there. Tough sledding ahead. But the Cards lineup from top is better, right? Top to bottom, it's deeper than the Nats lineup. But the Nats lineup, you said it yourself, Dom, has come up with the more timely hitting. And that's been the difference so far in this series, where they're hitting, both of the teams, hasn't been that consistently productive or just present.
Yeah, it's not. And the lineups are pretty close. I mean, I would say with, Goldschmidt and Ozuna, though, and then if you have a guy like Colton Wong who's, hitting a little bit better than he should, I think that lineup can turn it over to a guy like Paul DeYoung. But like I said previously, they're struggling. They're all struggling right now.
And struggling at the wrong time, Dom, of the season, as you and I both know. And, I mean, it kind of makes me think of the Detroit Tigers, our lowly Tigers, my lowly Tigers, I should say, right now, who are bad. But at one point, we're in a positive state, and we're contending for not only division crowns and winning those division crowns, but contending for pennants and World Series titles. Just never got it done. And most of the time, because of the lack of timely hitting, their bats would go so cold in the postseason, and at times when they needed the hits the most. But anyways, wanted to get to this now. You said about staying true, and you stayed true to your prediction, to your heart of picking the Cardinals, and I like how you stayed true to that. Speaking of all that and staying true to something, Maliq Carr, the Oak Park senior wide receiver, has stayed true to his intention of playing both basketball and football at the next level. He's wanted to for a long, long time, since he was a little boy, and loved basketball to start off more than football. Got playing football, though, played Little League. He played now high school football with Oak Park, and now he's going to pursue his career, continue his career collegiately with the Purdue Boilermakers. Find out why he decided to commit to Purdue and much more with Maliq right now. So Maliq, to start off here, happy birthday. And how special of a day is this for you to commit to a school, then also to celebrate your birthday?
It's very special. It means a lot. Everybody here means a lot to me. Love how they support me.
How about having your family and friends, this big supporting cast of family, friends here to celebrate this day with you? How special is that to you as well?
It made my day, honestly. It made my week, my month.
So why Purdue now? Tell all my listeners and I why Purdue.
Honestly, it's just family, and I get the ball. I mean, I'm going to get the ball. I can come in and have a good chance of playing early, and I can play both sports.
So playing both sports, at this point right now, what do you know about that possibility? How likely is it right now for you, Maliq?
It's for sure happening. It's not a possibility anymore. I'm happy that it's happening, and it should be great.
So you now, I know, are classified as a tight end and a wide receiver, but you've always labeled yourself as a wide receiver. Now tell my listeners and I why that is so important to you, being labeled a wide out instead of as a tight end.
Tight ends are big and slow. I'm nowhere near big. I'm not that big. I'm not slow whatsoever. I can move and I can adjust to the ball. I can run after the catch. Tight ends don't really do that normally.
So what are you looking forward to from the coaching staff, the football coaching staff, Coach Brom, and then Coach Painter with the basketball coaching staff at Purdue? What are you looking forward to playing for those guys and learning from them as well at the next level?
Just building a great relationship and them helping me get to the league, make as much money as possible.
What kind of player is Purdue getting in you, Maliq?
An honest player, a true leader, a hard worker. I think that's it.
And you've been working hard forever and ever now. Can you describe a little bit of your journey from Little League football to high school here at Oak Park, now to the next level collegiately playing for the Purdue Boilermakers?
Little League, I started with the Ravens. I started as a running back my first year. That was when I was playing for Coach Keys. I played for Coach Muhammad the next 7 or 8 years. And I became a receiver. I didn't run no routes, really. I really ran a corner and a fly. That's it. I went up to go get the ball. That's why I know how to get the ball so well now.
So how about you as a young man now? What is Purdue getting in Maliq as a man off the field?
Great personality, a great sense of humor. I'm brutally honest. Sometimes it's a bad thing, but most time it's good.
So being honest and funny. So what kind of humor do you have? Do you have a dry sense of humor? What kind of jokes do you like? What kind of humor do you like?
Oh, it depends on the situation, I guess. I mean, everything's funny. Yeah, at one point or another, everything's going to be funny.
And now what's something unique about you then? You've kind of already gotten into it a little bit, but something else unique about you that many people do not know. And you can think about this one, too. I know it might make you think a little bit here as well.
We're going to keep this quiet, but I can sing, but I don't like singing in front of people, so I don't do that.
So singing what kind of songs then?
Like R&B, like on some Charlie Wilson type.
Your favorite musical artist right now is whom?
Lil Wayne. Always will be.
And so why is it Lil Wayne for you?
Wordplay, metaphors, great rapper.
Maliq, awesome stuff. Enjoy the rest of your day. Happy birthday once again, and congratulations on this commitment as well.
Thank you.
And that was the Oak Park Knights senior wide receiver Maliq Carr, who will be playing both basketball and football at Purdue, and actually has the intention of leaving Oak Park early, so enrolling in Purdue early to play on the basketball team and actually going into this upcoming season, which might be tough to do and might not even see the floor coming into this season, coming up for the Purdue Boilermakers in the Big Ten. But still, he's going to try out this balancing act by walking on with the basketball team, which is led by Matt Painter at Purdue, then playing football for Jeff Brom. So he's got a great opportunity, and he's doing something that many D1 athletes do not do. Now, I also had the chance to speak with his head coach at Oak Park, and that is Greg Carter, when I was at Maliq's big announcement for where he would be committing this past Friday. So here's my conversation now with Maliq's high school football head coach, Greg Carter. So really, Coach Carter, to sum it up, what does this day mean for you, Maliq committing to Purdue?
It's just an outstanding accomplishment on his end and also our program. It just shows that we're producing players that people think can play on the next level. I also know I believe in Maliq. Maliq has a lot of drive, and he probably wants to do things that not many other people can do by playing both sports on a super high level. So we're excited about him. We're happy. It's a great birthday present, and we just want him to do great things when he leaves here.
What kind of kid is Purdue getting in Maliq?
They're getting a competitor. They're getting a kid that wants to win. He'll do anything to win. He'll work extremely hard, both in the classroom and on the field. So they're going to get a hard worker, and hopefully that'll rub off on some of the other players in their program that he's going to bring it each and every day.
How about Maliq now as a player? How good of a player is Purdue getting, and how good of a player can Maliq become as his collegiate career takes off?
I think he's only going to get better in both sports, especially football. We see the potential every day in practice. He does some outstanding things, and we think the sky's the limit for him. But if it comes down to work ethic, he'll meet all the goals that he's shooting for, because he's going to definitely work hard and give him everything that he has.
Always has been a hard worker from what I've heard.
Yes, unquestioned. From the day I began coaching him, you could see the effort that was in every play. It doesn't have to be a game. It could be a practice. It could be one-on-one. It could be anything. He's going to do his best to be successful.
And that was Coach Carter reflecting upon Maliq the player, Maliq the individual off the field as well, and how good of a player he can become moving forward as he pursues his collegiate career. And that was some good stuff there for Maliq and Coach Carter. Thanks to them for all of their time this past Friday when I was once again in attendance at Maliq's announcement. And he had his family, friends there, and it was really cool to see Maliq make that decision in front of a crowd of students, family, and friends, and some media members such as myself. And I got the chance to record the video of him making his decision with his little brother, announcing that he was going to become a Purdue Boilermaker. I think Dominic here got the chance to check out that video as well, Dom, and that was really cool to see, wasn't it? How he decided to announce his decision.
Yeah, do you like seeing that, young kids going to the next level, college level, and getting a chance to do what they love, play their favorite sports and hopefully succeed at the next level.
And like right now what we're doing, loving talking to each other, because that's what we love doing, talking to each other 24/7 since we live together too. And we love dissecting sports and all kinds of sports, including the Michigan Wolverines football team. And the latest regarding them, they got a W on Saturday against Illinois. At Illinois, now it wasn't the most highly contested contest or anticipated, but it actually did get close at one point, Dom. And too darn close for the Michigan Wolverines, who once again pulled off the victory. But Michigan was not impressive from start to finish, to say the least, Dom.
Yeah, Coach Harbaugh was really excited, full of praise for the offense and Shea Patterson after this game. He said he was pleased with the way the offense played. Thought they performed extremely well. And they did have several chunk plays in this game. He had a 71-yard pass to Anibal. But they've always hit with this offense, even when it's been somewhat clicking, they always hit a stag or a snag in the road where they have trouble moving the ball, and Shea's making mistakes out there, or there's a turnover force. So I think we saw, that was evidenced of the turnovers that occurred in this game as well, with a true Wilson fumble, and that allowed Illinois to cut the lead to 3. So I think as far as doing this to Illinois and running all over them and gaining as many yards is not that. It's obviously unimpressive against this Illinois team that is very decimated.
Not a good team, to say the least, huh?
Yeah, and they're
at 2-4 right now, too.
Right,
huh?
and they have a lot of guys, not playing, either hurt or what.
Brandon Peters as well, the former Michigan passer.
And the defense is out there all the time, and I thought Illinois actually did a decent job for being overmatched, but it's not a good look. But the special teams was bad. Nordine missed a field goal. Other than I guess you could. The blocks, Jordan Glasgow's block punt, and Moody was good too. But the missed field goal. It just wasn't a perfectly executed game.
No, and then you get outscored in the third quarter. And I'm of the mindset that you are of regarding the defense, that it got taxed because it's on the field way too often. It's not the defense's fault for not executing at times when it's on the field far too often, because the offense is on the field for a little bit of time consistently, Dom.
Yeah, you can't be out there, too long, because what happens is, in a game of field position, Will Hart had a good game, by the way, as far as, moving the ball forward enough where, Illinois would have long fields. But still, the times where they had the turnovers, Illinois scored because, they're out there so much and they have good field position. I think being taxed does hurt you, especially where a team, can take advantage of that taxing nature, and, throw the ball over the top of the defense, or, really get to the heart of the middle of the defense.
And it seems like their D still had a nice performance overall-wise, right? Despite allowing 25 points, I think still the defense performed when it had to, Dom.
Yeah, they were good enough to win the. In a normal week where they're not, where they're challenged more,
which could be next week at Penn State, Dom. And let's get into that really quick here. And I think we've talked enough about this Illinois game now, right? And the defense stepped it when it had to, but the offense still not clicking on all cylinders, and I don't think it's ever going to click on all cylinders with Shea Patterson as a quarterback, which I believe you believe the same thing regarding that. But anyways, next game is on the road next week against Penn State for U of M. How does Michigan fare in that one, you think, right now, Dom?
Well, Penn State's playing Iowa tonight.
And that's a big one on Saturday night here, yeah.
The way they're playing, they're not going to win the game against Penn State. Penn State doesn't have these mental lapses where, Michigan doesn't look like these guys know each other on the field. I think there's a lack of, cohesiveness, especially on the offensive side of the ball, where, they'll make mistakes and everyone has their head down. They don't come to, a team together. And this is, a general feel of watching the game and seeing what's actually happening. I don't feel like there's cohesion with the group, and I think the offensive line, the blocking schemes, they look like guys with talent, but they don't know how to put it all together.
Now let's pivot to this. The Lions have the ability to put it all together. And is it a must-win game on Monday night against the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field, where, by the way, the Lions have not been very good, and for a long, long time now. Actually, the Packers are 25-3, Dom, against the Lions in the state of Wisconsin since 1992, including a 1994 playoff victory. Also, Green Bay's passer Aaron Rodgers has led Green Bay to 7 wins and 9 starts at home in his career against Detroit, throwing 17 touchdowns and just 3 INTs. check out my column on lionsmaven.com. And it's actually, our Lions SI affiliated site that John Macron and myself now are writing for, and I'm serving as the editor of that very website at Lions Maven, affiliated with Sports Illustrated once again. And it's a column in which I reflect upon why I believe Monday night is a must-win for the Lions, because of the reasons I already stated and that I stated in the column, but also because, hey, you look at the division and who's in first place? The Aaron Rodgers-led Green Bay Packers at 4-1. Lions have the one loss and the one tie, and they're still, it's early on in the first quarter of the season. They're still in the thick of things, and they're in second place. So if they win Monday night, well, it sets them up for some success moving forward, and just gives them, obviously, a better shot to win the division this year. But, once again, back to my question for you about this game Monday night. Is it a must-win for the Detroit Lions, Dom?
I think every game against your division is pretty much must win. Now, as far as, they're on the road, so...
Where they haven't fared very well.
Right.
Now, once again, let's remind our listeners, 4 straight victories against the Green Bay Packers that the Lions have achieved.
I think
that is something to say,
I think
guess.
division games are more important than, another regular season game. But, regardless of that, I think the Lions, I think having a must-win game, I don't think it's as important right now because it's early in the season. I don't think
it's an overstatement.
It's an overstatement.
Because every game is a game you have to win when you're trying to win the division, right?
Right. Every game should be important. So if you have a game where it's a must-win game, it's probably the last game of the year where you have to win the game to get into the playoffs.
So a literal must-win.
It's a must-win game.
Yeah.
But going forward, I think if you have that mentality, especially if you're a Lions fan or a Lions player. That's not a good mentality to have.
But you want every single game to be a must-win, I guess, right? I know it's maybe pressure added onto you that you don't want to have added onto you, but I think it's a good initiative and mindset for the Lions players to have going into each and every single game. And let's label it. Can we label this game, though, as that it's the biggest must-win game of their early season schedule? If there has been a must-win game for the Lions so far, it is this game on Monday night. Can we at least say and agree upon that, Tom?
If they lost this game, they wouldn't be out of the woods to win the division still, because you're going to have
the 2 losses.
But you're going to have Green Bay. You're going to have Green Bay at home later in the year. So I think that game is arguably it's more important later in the year to win these games, because if you go in the second half of the season, basically the last 7 or 8 games, those are more important than now. We see, the Eagles, they got hot.
Because of Nick Foles. Forget Carson Wentz.
Right,
Throw him out the window.
Beginning of the year until the second half, they were much better in the second half of the season. They really hit their stride, offensively, in that Super Bowl year. So I feel like, especially with their running game, with that being said, I don't think this is a game where this isn't a must-win game, quite frankly.
So my logic is faulty. If we were to do, I'm going to just throw it out here, a Sunday sound off like we did on the first episode of Sundays with Dominic and Vito, you would say your sound off is that I have faulty logic regarding labeling this game on Monday night for the Lions as a must-win game.
I think it's always an overreaction when fans say, every game, this is a must-win game, but...
But Tom, am I a fan? No, I don't know. Should I label myself as a Lions fan right now? I like watching the Lions, and I'd rather see them win than lose. Go on, though.
I think this is a game where it's a good, as far as playing against the Packers, who are, year in and year out, your biggest rival and pretty much always at the top of your division. I think it's a good indicator of where you are. It's a good gauge of where you're going to be or where you could be going forward. So this is a game where this is the first time you're playing them in the season. So you can get all their, what they do, what their tendencies are, get that out of the way. So when the second half of the season comes, you watch the film, you watch the tape, and you can make yourself a better team. So I feel as if this game is more important for the Packers in the sense that, you're favored at home. You have this rich history of beating the Lions, in Lambeau Field. I think if the Packers are losing, this game or going to lose this game, that says more about, the Lions then. But I don't think the Lions can go in this game and think, if we don't win this game, we're just gonna, lay back, and if we can't beat the Packers, we're not gonna do anything else, because if they don't beat the Packers, you want them to bounce back. And I feel like this could, if you go into this game where it's a must-win game with your mentality being, you play to win the game.
You play to win the game, baby. Herm Edwards said it best, right?
You play to win every game, but I'm saying if you lose this game, there's much to look forward to. We see this before where teams, start off bad or start off really high. The Lions have done it before with the, John Kitna team, where they started, in the preseason, and they started.
They were 6-2 at one point in that season, I believe, too, in which they won one more game that season, then went 0-16 the following season. Remember, so it did occur with John Kitna and the Lions back then.
So
right?
I think football it's more important to be good in the second half. I think once you have a team where So you
don't want to be peaking at the wrong time. Like peaking in the first quarter of the season or first half of the season is not good, and it's an indicator of maybe some failure, right, moving forward.
I think it's an overreaction. I think where you're going to run into a problem, in these games, especially against the Packers, where you want to have your best showing, but if your team gets blown out and guys that have your core players are having bad games, I think if Stafford plays horribly, I think that's a red flag. If the secondary takes a step back, Justin Coleman has pass interference penalties. The linebackers are bad. Basically, the whole team, plays bad. It's an ugly. They get blown out. It's an ugly loss. I think then you have, reason to, cause for concern there. But I think if they play, a close game, a good game, I feel like they can make the, enough adjustments to where, you can beat them at home, and really, shoot off in the second half of the season.
So, Dom, no pun intended, but if you're the Lions and lose this game on Monday night, don't pack it in the rest of the way. Don't give up on the season. You have a lot more season to play. Only first quarter of the season has been played at this point, and you're coming off of a bye as well. So, hey, let's summarize our thoughts here and then get to a prediction, Dom, as well for me for Monday night.
Yeah, so I would say as well, I think the NFC North is a division where a lot of teams they're about, even for the most part.
And so far, it's the only division where every single team has a winning record.
It's a very good division. So I feel like, the Lions, obviously, you want to win the game. But I feel like, again, in this division, win the games at home, and, win your other games is more important right now. The easy wins on the schedule. And then the problem is we haven't seen it. The Lions don't have a good history, but... I feel like they're right up there with Minnesota, and with Chicago having the injury at quarterback with Mitchell Trubisky out. Detroit's as good as anyone in their division.
Besides for the Packers, maybe they'll surprise us all and get it done. But I have the Lions losing Monday. You, Dom?
Yeah, I have the Lions losing as well. I feel like the Packers, minus the Eagles game last week against Dallas, looked really good. The defense looks really good this year. Blake Martinez, Tramon Williams looks really good in coverage. Darnell Savage looks good as a rookie. Defensively, they actually are more impressive right now. I'm more impressed by their defense than their offense, because Green Bay has struggled defensively in the past. I feel like they're gonna win at home, but I think it's gonna be a close game. I think they're gonna win 27-24.
Difference maker for the Pack so far this year has been their defense, it seems like, too. It really has, like you said it yourself, and they're 4-1, I think largely because of that. And Rodgers has been solid, but not great. Yeah, and you can almost argue that Stafford's been better than Rodgers, and maybe that's blasphemous. But Aaron Jones, too, in that running game for the Packers. So far, so good. And I know Jones isn't averaging a bunch of yards per carry like he did last year, but he's the number one back now. And last week, 4 touchdowns he had against the Dallas Cowboys in that big victory for the Pack against the boys. So that was good to see, I know, for the Packers fans and their team, to see that out of Jones. And now going into this week, I mean, God, he's red hot, and now the Lions have to play him and the Pack at Lambeau. I'm not going to say, good luck as in the Lions don't have a chance, because I think actually the game will be close too, but a close defeat suffered by the Lions at the hands of their rival, Green Bay Packers. And Dominic, with that being said, man, hey, best of luck to you the rest of this weekend. Enjoy your weekend. Hey, and I'll see you as this week progresses, I think, too, for this reason or that reason, probably. And because of Mom's birthday as well on Monday, big shout out to her. Turning 40, right? The big 40, I think, is what it is.
I think you're right, yeah.
Let's stick with that, huh? Dom?
Well, I'm only what.
I mean, we're both young. I mean, we're both under 21,
Yeah,
for sure. I mean, we haven't had an ounce of alcohol at all, just like Juan Soto with the Nationals. And with that being said, guys, adios to all of you, and thanks for tuning in to another edition of Sundays with Dominic and Vito.
Thank you.